Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the SoFLo Sports Show, episode 126. Eventually, we're going to just stop counting because we're going to get to like big numbers. It's your host, 305 Sports Babe, co-host Lou from Dade. And
hey guys, you're sounding a little bit too monotone coming off a big win in Spain, cross the pond, and you're just, I don't know, you got to, get a little bit more excitement out of you.
We're on a 2-game winning streak too. It's crazy to think, Dolphins, it's been a roller coaster season. Obviously, we got a win in Atlanta, but then there were some dumb wins or some dumb losses that we should have got. Obviously, Charlotte being one of them. That one still stinks. And then Cleveland still doesn't make sense. So
Cleveland was a blowout, but yeah, you're right. Close losses. You got the bad loss, the home opener against the Patriots, bad loss to the Chargers that they had won. And yeah, that Carolina game, you're up 17-0. That should have been a W for sure.
Yeah, even in Buffalo, I know that was early in the season, but that was still a close one too. But anyways, you're right, Mr. Positive over there, I don't want to say Mr. Brightside. Obviously, that's not our team, but we're on a 2-game winning streak. So guys, let's jump in the chat real quick. Let's see who's here. We have Russ, who's going to see us towards the second half of the show. We have Rob. Rob has a joke for us. All right, ready? Don't look at the joke.
All right, okay.
Okay. Why was the tiny ghost asked to join the football team?
Not sure.
They needed a little team spirit. That was good. Rob.
That would have been well timed for Halloween. I like that, Rob.
Miami Mike Rivera. Hi, guys. Hello, and happy late anniversary to you. I saw your pictures of you and your beautiful wife, so happy anniversary to you and your bride.
Cody's in the house.
Wait, I got one more joke. Stop. Hold on, look. Why didn't the skeleton play football?
What?
His heart wasn't in it.
All right, these are Halloween jokes.
Rob, we're going to have to get you on the show soon. Also, Cody, let's go. Fins up.
What's going on, Cody?
Hey, guys. So, as we mentioned before, Dolphins are on a 2-game winning streak. This is fantastic. I really, expected, obviously, the Commanders win, especially without their starting quarterback and Marcus Mariota taking the spot. Beyond that, then before that, we beat the Bills. So, as you guys may know, that the Dolphins, we have a bye week this week. So, you're probably wondering, what are we going to do with ourselves? We are staying home this weekend, and we are so looking forward to that. Are you looking forward to spending the weekend with your wife?
I am. I'm looking forward to it, and always looking forward to the Dolphin bye week. You could definitely, catch up on some of the other teams. And in this case, we're scoreboard watching. We need a lot of teams ahead of us to fall and take a loss to give us a chance. So we definitely need to make that happen.
Yeah. So, but no, guys, we are very excited to just be staying home this weekend and catching up on different football games. Maybe we might go to a local sports bar and catch up, but we are so low key this weekend. I'm really looking forward to that.
That's right. We had to get up early, obviously, this past Sunday to watch the game in Spain. And so
it wasn't that early, Lou. Okay. It wasn't. Okay. I want to stop you right there. It wasn't like our West Coast friends who had to wake up at like 5:30 to see it. So you woke up at a normal time to watch a football game.
Yes, that is true. A lot of people on the West Coast had to get up at 6:30 in the morning. So definitely we had that.
Finn's faithful Potter buddy, what's up? Thank you.
George checking in. Hey, George. George got a big show coming up at 8 p.m. after us.
Weren't you on George's show after the game?
The post game, yeah, definitely there.
I had a work event after the game, and Lou was like, I was on a podcast for 2 hours. I was like, good, kept you busy, boy. All right, guys. So
and then Sammy's in the chat as well.
I didn't see Sammy. Oh, Sammy just got there. Good
Sammy,
evening.
how's it going, Sammy? Sammy's taking a break this week, but they will be back stronger than ever next week.
We'll take a break next week for Thanksgiving.
We'll see. I didn't prepare the questions this week, so we're gonna have to definitely get those questions out for next week's show. So we're doing a show next week.
Right. Oh, it's your birthday, so maybe make an exception. All right, guys. So as I mentioned before, we are on a 2-game winning streak. We're fresh off the nail-biting win against the Commanders. Some would have thought that should have been a blowout, obviously with Marcus Mariota starting, backup quarterback. And but we're going to talk to somebody tonight who was at Spain. As you guys know, we couldn't make the trip to Spain, but Dolphin Nation was very, very well represented there.
Absolutely.
So many people went, even people that we didn't know was going there, and they just started posting pictures for like in Spain. So we're really looking forward to speaking to our guest tonight who was live in Spain.
That's right. And so we're going to talk about it with him. We're also going to talk about the current now 4-7 Dolphins, the state of the Dolphins coming up on their bye week this week. All the moves that were made, the moves that maybe weren't made, and moves that may be coming after the season's over or even before if things go back south the way they were prior to these 2-game winning streak. But without further ado, let's get to our guest.
I know. I want to hear about the Vino
Long-time media giant in South Florida market from the Big O Show, Orlando, Big O, Alzugaray. Thank you, Big O, for joining us, my man.
Hello, Dolphin Nation. Hope you guys are doing well.
We are. We're so excited to see. First of all, Lou lived vicariously through you last week. He'd be like, babe, did you see what Big O did? Did you see this food he posted? Did you see this? So your documenting skills were excellent, and it really made him jealous for not being there.
Absolutely. We're living it through you and fresh back from Spain. You landed yesterday. Are you caught up on your rest?
No.
It's
half sleep. I mean, come on. I could have told you that.
I just took a nap this afternoon after I got off my show earlier. So I got home and I felt tired, and I said, I've got to get some rest. And so I ended up getting a little rest and a little relaxation so I can continue to charge the battery, because you go ahead 6 hours and then you gain 6 hours, and it's just kind of the whole thing, from your Miami time, and then you're trying to switch to Madrid time. But it was fun, man. I've never been to Madrid, so it was a first time for the wife and myself. I went to Barcelona when I was like 18 years old, so that was a long time ago. So
10 years ago. Okay, 10 years ago, we get it. So tell me about some historical landmarks that you saw out there. Like, let's start with the historical stuff. What are some things that National Geographic history book that you saw out there?
Well, obviously the park. I forgot the name of the giant. It's like their Central Park in New York. It's the same thing. That it's got all kinds of stuff going on from museums, and the Prado Museum is close by. I went to the palace, and I walked the streets like I haven't walked like this much in decades. Okay, and the hills, and so it's like you'll walk like 2 or 3 blocks up, and then you'll go another block or 2 down, and it just my hip, my calves, my thighs. But I really enjoyed actually walking the streets and going and just people watching and checking out the different restaurants and cafes and shops, and it was just endless. La Gran Via, which is like the Rodeo Road of theirs. It's awesome where there's Rolex and you name it, Louis Vuitton and everything else that you can think of. Those kind of stores line up there. The building of agriculture. That's what blew me away more than anything else was the architecture, and the architecture of the building of agriculture was just ridiculous. It's got like a bunch of these horses and a dude on top of it, and you're like, how does this marble and stone weigh, dude, all the way up there? And then you think about it, and it's a city that is 1,000 years old, and there's 7 million people living in that Madrid area, that Madrid metro complex, and they've got roadways in a second level and a third level under the ground. In order to get around and get through different places, they've got even tunnels running under the city because there's so much traffic.
Miami could never, not even just because the flooding, it's just the driving skills here. We could never handle something like that.
Yep.
Tell me about the food. So
the food
what was your favorite food out there?
I lost weight. Meat. I had a lot of great meats out there.
Wow.
I had steaks. The pasta was fantastic. The empanada at the something called Mercado something. It's a place where they have like a whole bunch of different booths and different restaurants. The greatest empanada that I had ever had in my life is there. So every morning for the last 3 mornings that I was there, after I tried that empanada, I was there in the morning to have that as breakfast because it was so good, and there was no way I could ever have an empanada like that down here. So
you got your steps in.
Yeah, well, so I got a question. Go ahead.
The cooking doesn't go right through you. You know what I mean? Like the cooking
is
clean and constantly. That's one of the things. The only disappointing part was that I found the Tim Hortons there. Okay.
In Canada.
We're fantastic. I love their glazed donuts. I know everybody else goes for the coffee. I'm the idiot that goes for the
glazed. You take your donuts. Yeah.
but I love their glazed donuts. The only thing is they're more health conscious over there, and they don't put the amount of glaze that they normally put on a Tim Hortons glazed donut.
Ew, that's nasty.
Take it from a glazed donut expert, okay? So they
There you
changed
go.
that, so it wasn't as good, but I still had that flavor of Tim Hortons, which you can't replace that. I don't get that in Miami. I wish I had a Tim Hortons in Miami. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
That would be amazing.
So we'll get back to the food, but again, you did a great job documenting it all. I want to post some of the pictures here. Oh, sorry, not that one. How do we get this one on?
How are you doing?
yeah,
This one.
don't post the porn.
Yeah. So how about these pictures? These are some great. Look at the architecture there. I mean, what's going on in these pictures that you took?
Okay, that is close to the monument that you see on the far right side, on the top right side. That one is close to the park. I can't tell you exactly the name of the monument, but there's another post that has the back of it and all the inscription and everything in it. And then the two in the bottom, these are just buildings, apartment buildings and office buildings. And I just, I'm a huge architecture fan. Like I went into the Prado Museum with the wife, just like I went to the Louvre in Paris and all that. And to me, I see one painting or another, and I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. I kind of get really bored with paintings really quickly. Architecture, I do not. I marvel at architecture. I marvel at how it was built, how some of this stuff was built way before we had the engineering skills of today, and it's still standing. You know what I mean? And that to me, it's super impressive. The detail of it. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And so I just, that one is some of it is driving around in a tour bus and some of it is walking. It all depends on which picture. But yeah, I just marveled at some of that stuff, and I had to capture it.
You did a great job, and these are great shots, and so thank you for sharing this with us. But I want to get back to the food. I know you said you lost weight, and you mentioned the glazed donuts, but I couldn't believe this, Big O. How about these churros?
When you lose weight, your stomach contracts, and that's that's the thing, that once you start losing weight and you keep at it, you get full real quick, and oh, dude, you're gonna go there and you're gonna pig out. And I taste a lot of stuff, whatever, ham in different places. The churros, were fantastic. Dipping it into the hot chocolate, it was awesome. The only thing that I would be a negative on the churros, if I have to be completely honest, they don't serve them to you warm. They serve them to you kind of room temperature. And yo soy cubano.
Papa. Yeah, we need to heat it up.
Yeah, you would like that. Yeah.
I need my warm churros. The chocolate is warm, but the churro they give you is not warm, and that to me was a little bit of a.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, I'm not saying maybe other churro places give it to you fresh right from the fryer like they do down here, Excuse me, but and by the way, it has no sugar.
You hate that.
They're plain. There's no sugar on it, so it tastes good, but it's not as sweet as what you're spoiled to here in America.
Well, let's switch topics about food, because Lou did not eat dinner yet, and I can hear his stomach growling. Talk to me about the Dolphins and the more about the NFL experiences that they had there, the events, any parties that the Dolphins may have held, kind of like off the grid stuff that you did with the Dolphins or any NFL events.
Well, I saw the experience part, which was really, really cool. To me, what was cool was more our presence. And it was all over the place. And props to the Washington fans also. I saw a lot of Washington fans also go to the game. So that was cool. Listen, it was like, you're going to the game. Neither team is really that good, but it's a great vacation. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the way you got to look. I went to a Hailstorm concert, on Saturday night. So I had a blast. I even found the show.
Nice.
Yeah. So Lizzie was fantastic. She was through the roof. And so, that's just kind of what we made it. We made it a great trip. And then meeting the fans was really cool. The atmosphere, they had the city dressed up with, a CHOP signs, and then two signs also. And by the way, the chop signs, they decided that a few weeks ago. And before they decided that, they said, well, Chubb and Phillips are on the trading block, so let's just put Chop there instead because we know he's going to
Wow.
So, that's why you saw the Chop one on those signs and not Chubb, who's having the superior season. Is
Right.
the guy you would put there, really, to be quite honest, because
That
it's
makes
not
sense.
Chubb Robinson is known more. That's just not the way it is. Bradley Chubb is known more in the business than Chop Robinson, you would put, but they put Bradley Chubb. And I get it. This was planned several weeks ago, right before trading deadline, so they had to kind of protect themselves. So that's kind of smart. You don't want to have Chubb all over the place, and then you traded him, or Jalen all over the place, and then you traded him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Definitely.
It was great, man. It was great. I give our Dolphin Nation, like the team doesn't deserve them. I mean, like they travel everywhere. They support the heck out of this team, and they get nothing in return. So to me, I was really impressed with the Dolphin presence, as always.
Do you feel like there was more of a presence with Dolphin fans there? Or do you feel like the Commander fans it was close to it, or the Dolphin Nation just took it over?
No, I think the Dolphin Nation edged them out. Yes, definitely. I definitely am convinced the Dolphin Nation edged them out. Now, again, it wasn't like, it was like a weak Washington fan base. No, they came out strong. So I give them a lot of props because I saw a lot of Washington fans. But there was no doubt that there was more Miami Dolphins attention. Now, most of these people don't give a crap about football. Don't know about football, don't know about the game or anything like that. It's a niche thing still over there, okay? Because, lots of people that I talk to, Spaniards, okay, because I can speak Spanish, so I can actually talk to Spaniards, and they didn't care about it. They didn't even know. They kind of knew about it because it's a tourist town, Madrid. It's massive.
Yeah.
It wasn't for tourists, that city would struggle some if it wasn't for tourists. So they knew of the event, but most of them really didn't follow it yet. So it's still kind of a niche thing, and it's kind of a process of education. And that's why eventually, I've always said, we'll end up with a European division. And you'll have a team in Frankfurt, you'll have a team in Paris, you'll have a team in London, you'll have a team either in Barcelona, Madrid, one of the two, like you did with NFL Europe back in the day, but you'll have a division. And then you'll have like one international practice facility right in the middle of Europe. So that way American teams come over and they stay for a couple of weeks. They play a couple of European teams, and then they fly back and enjoy their bye week. And the same thing, the European teams will go over there, and you can have like a practice facility for them centered so they can fly to different parts of the country.
I like that, Roger Goodell.
I was going to ask about that, Big O. So, because obviously with this being an international game and kind of a Super Bowl rematch, the two teams met in Super Bowl 7 and Super Bowl 17. So, you see the end zones here. Beautiful stadium, by the way. The Bernabeu, where Real Madrid plays, a tremendous stadium. You see the both end zones painted there. It's interesting. I was going to ask you about that. If you thought that the NFL would eventually venture and expand to Europe, and you're saying yes, they will. Do you ever see? I hope this never happens, by the way. But do you ever see the greatest game, the Super Bowl, being played on an international level?
I don't think I'll be alive for that, but yeah, I can see something like that because eventually, this whole thing that I'm talking about with Europe, that'll take time to evolve over the next 10 to 20 years. But we're talking about a couple of generations, because once you establish a division in Europe, then you will start to influence schools and universities to take up sport. And then you will start to produce football talent from different parts of the world, like you're doing with basketball and you've done with baseball for many years. So basketball now is the number 2 sport in the world. Football has to look at that and say, okay, we've got to be able to increase our talent pool. And there's got to be more quarterbacks, in Europe or in Africa or in South America. So you've got to try to expand in other areas to try to, influence others into the sport. And there's money. So it's an option for, some guy that's really big is not going to be able to play soccer. But somebody that's really small can play soccer, can't play football. It's really hard. We don't have a lot of small people in American sports. That's why I always trip out. I laugh at this when people tell me about our soccer team, and I tell you, why it's poorly run? If you look at it, everybody in the world, whatever neighborhood you've been in America, you have a short guy that is a great athlete in your neighborhood. And that short guy always goes on to become a cop or a teacher or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, because he normally can't play football, baseball, basketball, hockey. You'll get the Theo Fleury's, and, you get the Dustin Pedroias, and you'll get, a few little guys will survive, but so few. Most of them go. What happened to all our great short athletes? They don't go to play soccer, because if you go look international soccer, it's all a bunch of short guys. They're all 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". The greatest soccer players are pretty much are short guys. So what happened to all the big Europeans? The vice versa now. Like the vice versa happens here in America, that short American players haven't figured out, wow, I can make a lot of money playing soccer if I go into that sport, but I hate it. I can't stand it. Well, now the reverse will happen in football. Eventually the big guys that are too big to play those sports or too long and lanky or whatever, now they're going to move to football. But this is an
way down the road.
Yeah, this is an evolution that's going to take time, but eventually it will happen because greed takes over. And once you've milked a market for all it's worth, and now with the internet and everything else, they're at that point now. The next thing is, that's what we're seeing now. The next thing is expansion. So now let's start putting games. Let's start experimenting. Let's start putting a team out there every year, like the Jags. And now, the Dolphins are going to do the same crap and all that. So all the steps are being taken, but it's a long process. Eventually.
I hope it doesn't lead to a Super Bowl being played international. It's America's game, and so I hope it stays there. Checking into the chat here. So Jay says Big O is one of the few who calls it like it is. He always does. And, of course, one of his famous sayings is smash that like button, everyone. So please, if you guys are checking this out, smash that like button over here. And definitely if you're watching on X or Twitter, come on over. Show Big O some love. He is the man when it comes to South Florida sports content, so we are very happy to be joined by him as always. So I know you want to mention some things about the game, so let's get to the game. Let's recap this game a little bit.
All right, so both teams started slow, and we had a 6-6 game at the half before Washington finally found the end zone, and then Miami answered back. Some people are saying it was a boring game at first. I didn't find it to be boring at all. I mean, I think it was just the excitement of playing international. I
think we expected more points, though, especially with the way that Washington's been giving up points, in the last 5 games. I thought we expect more of a scoring outburst. But you're right. It was an entertaining game back and forth. And so then we end up, Big O, getting to, obviously, the 4th down decision. And, we'll get to your take in a second of how you thought that should have gone down. But on 2nd down, particularly when they get all the way down, we'll fast forward to the end of the game here. Achane, they call his number on 2nd down and 3rd down. I thought personally he should have gone Ollie Gordon on 3rd down. And while I'll say that that Alec Ingold isn't, John Riggins or Larry Zonka, I thought I would have liked to seen some I formation action, give him a little bit more help in getting Ollie Gordon to power that ball into the end zone. That didn't take place. But wanted to get your opinion on the play calling specifically. Before we get to the 4th down decision, what did you make of Achane being used back-to-back on 2nd and 3rd down, and then going with Ollie Gordon on 4th when you're a yard away? What was your take on that?
It made no sense, But then again, this is the idiot that didn't go for a field goal and then fails, and you got to take the field goal there. Okay, the first time that you were in that opportunity and you passed up on it. Okay, we can argue about that one. But you're playing Marcus Mariota, dude. You cannot fear Marcus Mariota. Please give me a break. You take the 3, you kick off, and your defense has played well enough, okay? Because they have that. There's a reason why you've won 3 of 4. It's not only because you're running the ball, but it's also because your defense is actually playing. And I would have trusted that defense. Look, if you're playing Pat Mahomes, and you're in that position and you go for it on 4th down, I'm going to say I kind of understand that. Because if you put 3, that means you're losing the game. Mahomes is going to come out, and I don't trust the Dolphin defense to stop Pat Mahomes in that moment. So I'm going to say, okay, I understand why you went for 7 because I've been there before. I've watched the Dolphins play Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or somebody else, and they settle for 3. Rest in peace, Verano. And then they come back on you, and that's because they've got the guy that can put 7 instead of 3. So if it was Pat Mahomes in that situation, dude, I totally understand why you're going for 7. But it's Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
It's Marcus Mariota. Please give me a break. So if your defense can't stop Marcus Mariota in the last minute and 40, then you don't deserve to win the game. And by the way, after not going for that, you didn't deserve to win the game. That's the way I thought about it, to be quite honest. It's my favorite team, and I love them. But that catastrophic, stupid-ass decision right there, I have to say to Mike McDaniel and the team, you guys don't deserve to win this game because they have missed 2 field goals in this game. They have given you an interception, a fumble. They have done everything to give this game away, and you idiots aren't there to take it. You know what I mean?
You mentioned McDaniel, and what do you think of him calling for those timeouts?
It ended up becoming a game of who wants it less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what it came off of. And so it also shows you what he's going to be in key moments too. And it's been like that throughout. So this was just an example of what we've dealt with for 4 years already. And the players won in spite of the coach.
Yeah, even Barista Benny just said, I thought exactly the same. How did you deserve to win?
You didn't. You didn't. You were just gifted to win. It's just that Washington sucked more than you.
Yeah.
You sucked, but they sucked more. It was he who sucks more loses. It wasn't like he who was better than the other or anything like that, because nobody was better at any. The only guy that's better is Achan. Outside of that, there ain't nobody better. Okay, so it was just one of those where you got lucky, you won, and you move on, and you've won 3 or 4.
So what do you take of McDaniel's call on both those timeouts that essentially helped the Commanders to extend their drive and ultimately attempt that field goal?
Right. This is the same game that started off in the first drive with a delay of game and a timeout. This is who this guy is. I mean, that's why I get entertained by the fact that the owner is talking about, if he's got a chance to stick, or that he doesn't really want to part with him. And I keep wondering about this in a big time way. I know the front office did not want to pay Tyreek Hill. I know this for a fact. Yeah. And they ended up giving him the money, and it was McDaniel. And then it was McDaniel fighting for Tua. And so now, Greer is gone. And I wonder if Greer wanted to fire him earlier, but the old man didn't listen. And the old man's still not listening and still not paying attention because he's still giving off the vibe like he's trying to stay the course. And this is just not a course you want to be on. And it's obvious to most of us that have a brain, but he doesn't. And the sad part is, as I've mentioned on my show many times, Stephen Ross doesn't have any real smart football person next to him giving him advice, because all the people you see in that box for the last 15 years are the same people that have been around. And trust me, he's got to ask them their opinions on all kinds of stuff. So while you've had the Tannenbaums and all the others in his ear, you've had those guys that you see in the box. And so far, that has not gone well. And yes, I am including Dan Marino. Yes, I am. And I'm including that more in there, okay? Because they've obviously been asked about an opinion. And somehow or another, there are bad opinions all around Stephen Ross. And this is why we continue to be in this funk.
So sticking with Mike McDaniel, you yourself have been critical of him, as have I, as many people, but you were more critical of him before people stopped, before people really caught on to this. If the Dolphins lost that game because of his decision, or even if they got blown out in Spain, do you think that he would have still been our head coach going into this bye week?
Yeah, with this idiot owner? Yeah, of course. I would have fired him. I would have fired him after game 3. Yeah. After game 3, I would have fired him, and I would have given the job to Weaver. And then well, you agree, but guess what? All I got was, no. Our Dolphin fan base went after me because they thought Weaver sucked. And now all those phonies that are out there, and some of you are watching right now, you bunch of phonies, gutless phonies, and you were all bitching about Weaver, and I told you in the preseason this defense would suck, and it would take Weaver half a season to figure it out because you gave him a defense with no secondary, with young tackles, and linebackers that can't cover. I like our linebackers, but they're not good coverage guys. And this was known before the season started, and I told everybody, he'll figure it out halfway through like he did last year when you gave him no pass rush.
Yeah.
And he had to adjust, and when they were top 10, he's a damn good coach. But when I said put Weaver in place, 99% of the people came after me and said, no, Weaver also sucks, fire him too. And now they're kissing Weaver's ass.
No, Big O, you and I have a lot of the same views when it comes to Tua and Coach McDaniel, and people may see it as left field, but you know what? We do have substance of what we say. So
it is what it is, and that's what I would have given Weaver 14 games. And I really wonder if Chris Greer wanted to make that change, and the old man went against it. And so
that's a great point.
These are things that I keep wondering because there's too much of this bullshit going on. And I know for a fact they didn't want to guarantee that year for Tyree. I know for a fact, and it's come out now that he pushed for the Tua extension. So these are things, and there were times where actually, throughout Greer's tenure, he's actually shown restraint on contract situations, and yet here he kind of gave in. And so Stephen Ross is soft. Mike McDaniel is soft, and I kind of think that that's kind of what's unfortunate.
And that's why we've been stuck. So, look, we do end up, Jack Jones saves the day here with this interception. A questionable call was also McDaniel deferring, which I understand now where it's both teams get a chance to score, to have the ball. I get it, but Jack Jones saves the day with the interception, and then Riley Peterson hammers it home with the game-winning field goal. Riley Patterson, sorry. Riley Patterson here seals the deal with the win. I want to get back to the GM aspect of it and the football side of it, but how big of a missed opportunity was this, Big O, which I know that it's not in the grand scheme of things important, but there was a lot of pop-up shops in Madrid that were selling Dolphins gear, and it was all the old gear. And with the Washington team, which used to be the Redskins, and the Dolphins being on an international stage, how big of a miss does this team, this organization have by not embracing their rich history and tradition and going back to the original logo and uniform scheme?
Oh, because everything's a money grab for Stephen Ross.
Yeah.
He turned that property into not just for the Dolphins, then he put it in also for the Hurricanes. And then he put the tennis tournament, and he's got the F1 race, and he's got a hospital on there. You think the hospital's not paying to be there? They're paying to be there. And he's got the biggest concerts and the biggest festivals that come through there. He's got international soccer matches. He's got a national championship, Super Bowl. His team never goes to the Super Bowl, never will even smell close to the Super Bowl, but he gets one in his stadium every 7 years. And he's going to get a national championship semifinal and finals constantly in his stadium because he's done everything that he had to do. And so now he's going to sell a home game, too, on top of all of that. So Dan Marino said it himself, one of the guys in the box, my favorite player of all time. He said, Stephen Ross will never let go of that logo. That's his baby. And that's what that's the problem there. It's his baby, not the communities, not the fan base. Even though we all want the old logo, we don't want the dead whale. But we are stuck with the dead whale. And what can I tell you? Bail on the whale is what I've been saying. Bail on the whale. Buy only old logo. You can't fire the owner. You can't. There's no way to fire the owner. We're stuck with this dumb. We've got to hope for dumb luck in order to win because there is no skill in that building. They have a skill to make money. They don't have a skill to build football there, okay? And they don't know how to build a football culture. Just ask Jalen Phillips. He's finding out about that.
Yeah, and
we're stuck with it. We're stuck.
Yeah,
with
our good buddy in Philly.
The message I would say:
Please freezing.
Whale on the whale. That's the only message I would. If everybody wore the old logo and dumped the whale, that would be a nice message to Stephen Ross. He's still going to make money off the old logo, but at least satisfactory. You can say, yeah, I'm going to hang with the real logo because that's when they were the real Dolphins. You're not a good enough owner for me, so I'm not going to wear your logo because that's what it is. It's not your logo, it's his logo. So message has been sent, but fans, as I say, a lot of times you guys are spineless out there. You don't see you bitched about Weaver and now you hide from me. You know what I mean? It's just kind of the same thing. This happens all the time. So you're not going to stop going to games. You're not going to stop watching. None of us are going to do that. But there is one little message that you can say and bail on the whale. And by the way, you should. The logo sucks. Stick to the real logo anyway. So,
that's right.
That's it.
So sticking with the conversation about the old man, right? The old man. Were you surprised that he and Chris Greer let go of Chris Greer, but they parted ways? And was this an audition for Chip Kelly, do you think? I'm sorry, Chip Kelly.
I have no idea I have no idea what this old man wants to do. To get in his head and try to figure out what he wants to do. This is a guy who sold New York Jets paraphernalia at the Dolphin pro shop. I mean, who thinks of doing stuff like that? You've got to be like really stupid and really dense to do stuff like that. And he was doing stuff like that. So this is a guy that got caught in the middle of the night going after Harbaugh. This is what we're talking about. This is a guy that cost his team a first and a third rounder.
Not Peyton.
I have no idea what this old geezer is going to do, but I know he's going to do something to screw things up because that's what he has constantly done for 15 years, unfortunately. I can't get into his mind. It's really hard to figure out. Nobody fires the GM unless your players are all like getting arrested and you signed all kinds of dirt bags. And in fact, they're all really quality human beings, aren't they? Because they're all professionals and they're all playing really hard. And guess what? It's all still his talent that they've won 3 or 4. So it's not, Chris Greer deserves to get fired because he hired the wrong coaches. But if he hired the right coaches, he gave them enough talent to get to the playoffs and even win a playoff game. Because just 2 years ago, we're all talking about that roster as being one of the best rosters in 20 years. Well, you can't say that and then say he sucks. But where he did suck is he hired the wrong coaches. But it seems like the whole Spielman, Wannstedt power move and all that, and Spielman lost it to Wannstedt, I kind of sense the same thing here that's happening. And, the coach maybe is more along the lines of what, Stephen Ross is all about. And all I've seen is softness.
So sticking with Champ Kelly, he makes one move before the trade deadline. That move is obviously sending Jalen Phillips to the Eagles to be reunited with Vic Fangio, and we get a third rounder in return. Were you surprised with this move? Were you surprised that no other moves were made? Actually, let me rephrase that. Were you surprised that no other moves were made by the Dolphins besides this one?
Yeah, I was surprised, but I knew that they would get rid of at least the defensive end. I thought it would be Chubb more than anything else, but they bought a third rounder. This was not a good. This was not a smart trade. Okay, you're going to pay the third rounder $6 million, right around that, 5 point something over the 4-year period. They paid $6 million to acquire that pick. So that third rounder you're going to draft, you're going to pay him $12 million. You're going to pay him double of what the market value is of what. So you better hit on that third rounder.
Yeah.
Already overpaying. They did what the Browns did when they bought that second rounder for $15 million. These guys bought a third rounder for $6 million. It's really not a smart move. It's not a great move or anything like that, because if Jalen Phillips goes on to become a hell of a player and doesn't have any more injuries from here on out and all that, I doubt the third rounder you get is going to replace him, overall. But we'll see. Jalen now is in a better place. He's surrounded by real talent and a real great scheme. He's looked great in the first 2 weeks, but maybe he's looked great because he's also around other great players, and that elevates everyone. It's a team game. Somehow or another, we have people that think that this is some kind of video game and one guy, quarterback, carries everybody, and that's just a bunch of crap. And so now we're going to find out how this trade develops. If Jalen Phillips continues in his injured ways, then at least you got out, you bought a third rounder, but at least you got something for it and you move on. But if he turns into a hell of a player for the Eagles and you don't turn that third rounder into a good player that you're overpaying, it's not going to, it's not going to look good for you. So it wasn't a smart move or anything like that. It was a move by a desperate team, and they basically they didn't want to get to the decision of having to pay him or not. And so I understand all of that. So
and Jalen Phillips so far looking good. Jalen Phillips has looked good in his 2 games with the Eagles, so he's already making that a tough decision. So we'll see how that goes. I want to shift gears here.
They probably wanted to buy more picks.
People
willing to do what Philadelphia did, because Philadelphia had 3 third-rounders. So they can. All right. So other teams, if they were going to give up a second or a third or fourth for something, and the Dolphins were willing to pay the money because Stephen Ross doesn't care, that you might have been able to get away with it. But it looks like other teams weren't willing to give away the draft picks.
So I know Lou wants to talk about the elephant in the room, Tua, right? You and I, again, have been critical of him, but pretty well, obviously we've said some factual things, but I know you want to dive into that.
I mean, I want to look at this point too, especially the last 2 weeks here. He's looked more like a game manager than a 5th overall pick, especially, almost leading the league in interceptions. I'm not sure if he still holds that distinction. He did 2 weeks ago, but he didn't throw any credit to him in Spain. But still, he's still amongst the top quarterbacks in interceptions. And then the last 2 weeks specifically, he's been throwing what people are calling long punts, just taking shots on the long ball that gets picked off. I think that's a bunch of BS. I don't think a turnover is ever going to be considered a punt, especially when it's at the first drive.
It was 2 weeks ago. Last week's was a terrible decision.
Right,
but
throwing double coverage.
2 weeks ago, it was a late down, so it was the end of the drive. So instead of a punt, you throw it out there and you try it. Here's my problem with all of that. And this is where Mike McDaniel is just a stupid human being. Okay. Oronde Gadsden couldn't run. He ran slow as hell, but you threw every fade to him because he could out jump everybody, had hands like vice grips. They were like banana bundles. If you ever shake hands with Oronde Gadsden, it's like shaking hands with a banana bundle. And
Wait, no, stop, no.
Your hands just disappear. Haven't you seen it?
Oh my gosh.
They're like this.
Your analogy's got me dead right now. I'm going to do that in Publix when we go next week. I'm going to just get bananas. Really, what are you doing? I'm holding Rodney's hand.
You shake like a hand. Just shake with a banana bundle, and you're shaking with a Oronde Gadsden, pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
And so if you have a guy like that, have a Darren Waller type, if you have somebody that can high point the ball, Chris Chambers.
Yes.
Chris Chambers was 5'11". He wasn't a big receiver, actually. People he played big because he had thick shoulders and he could jump like 40 inches. So his strength, his upper body strength, he was able to body people in the air, and then he could high point a ball. Jalen Waddle, that has never, ever, 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 ever been his game. And yet this moron continues to put him in that position. And you've got the Akini kid, okay, who caught 9 touchdowns with no quarterback in Tennessee, and you can't figure out a way to use him. They gave him Cedric Wilson. He couldn't figure out a way to use him. They gave him Gesicki. He couldn't figure out a way to use him. It gets frustrating because you're asking a short quarterback to keep throwing deep balls to short receivers. That doesn't make any sense. If he was at least Steve Smith, then okay, Steve Smith is the baddest mofo on the planet. So when he goes in the air, he's going to elbow you in the ribs and he's going to puncture you in the eye, and then he's going to grab
get that ball.
You know what I mean? So I'm okay. I'm gonna throw it down there because Steve Smith is a different kind of dog. You know what I'm saying? And so I could get away with that. Back in the day when I was a kid, there was a guy by the name of James Lofton, and he could do that kind of stuff. Downfield. John Jefferson could do that downfield. There have been Mark Clayton was a 5'10" guy that could that could squat 500 pounds, can jump 45 inches, can tomahawk dunk. So Marino could throw it up in the air, and Mark Clayton would come down with it. You got to put people in positions to put them in positions to succeed and do what they excel at. Oronde Gadsden excelled at high-pointing footballs. He was the best at that. Okay, so let's do that over and over and over again, because we're going to win that high point every single time, pretty much. And if it doesn't, it's going to end up on the ground. It won't be intercepted one way or the other. So those are the kind of things that piss me off about Mike McDaniel, and why I constantly say he's a stupid coach. While he has a brain and he can design great plays, he doesn't put the right people, as you said to start the interview, Achane right in the middle in 21. Where do you think we're going by giving Achane 20 carries a game? We're headed for an injury.
Yeah, he's going to get hurt. Overusing him. Yeah.
You're overusing him, and you've got Ollie, and that's what you want to do at that moment. You want a power back, you want a difference maker, and there you go. And he came off hobbles in that last run because you're a moron at that point, and you should have kicked the field goal anyways, and the game would have been over. But this is the coach we have. He doesn't put players in positions to be successful, and he fails at that constantly. You have a great game against Atlanta. You run, baby, and you run.
We were there.
Have 3 backs with Jay Wright, and the next week you all of a sudden say, you know what? I'm going to use Taj Washington, and we're going to put Jay Wright against the Ravens. We're only going to have running backs, because that's what a really smart coach does. We're going up against a really physical team. Yeah, we only need 2 backs, and one of them is a Oompa Loompa. So, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? It's like the king-size level of stupidity of Mike McDaniel, it just goes through the roof. And it's every week and all the time. And that's why the talk of him even sticking around makes me sick to my stomach, because it just shows that this owner doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
So that would lead me to my next
question.
question.
Well, I wanted to follow up. So us too, we're definitely sick of it. But, going back to Tua here, he is a game manager at this point, completed just through 20 passes in this past game in Spain. I know the running game was humming, and that's going. But Tua being a game manager, his regression, the interceptions, what are we going to do with Tua? Are we looking at eventually going to a Russell Wilson, a Daniel Jones situation where we're getting rid of him? Or there's no way that we could stay on the hook with him for more than 2 years. What's the end game here with Tua, Big O?
Why don't you get a better running game? Why don't you get a better offensive line so you can give them time? Why don't you have a tight end that can actually make plays? Why don't you get big receivers? Because that's kind of when Drew Brees had Marcus Colston for like 7 years. And then he had Michael Thomas, both 6'3", 6'5" receivers, maybe 6'6", Colston was. Always had a tight end. Always. Shockey, all kinds of tight ends. Always had playmaking tight ends. Short quarterback, big receiver, big tight end, strong offensive line, dedication to the running game. Do any of those things resemble Miami?
No.
Okay, so then you can forget about ever maximizing Tua. You can forget about it. If you're never going to be a responsible dude, Greasy won a Super Bowl throwing the ball 7 times.
No, I get it.
It's not a matter of how many times you throw it. It's that you have Paul Warfield when you do need it. You know what I mean? And so then you're going with your tight ends, and you're going with your 3 running backs, and you're dominating with the line. So you're asking Jalen Hurts not to throw the ball 30 times. You can win with him throwing 15, 20, 22 times, 25 times. All he has to do is make a couple of throws. That's how your quarterback should be. If your quarterback has to do what he had to do, you don't win. You don't win anything. You win nothing with this guy. And it wasn't his fault, but you put the weight of the world on him. And when you put the weight of the world on him, is it all Mahomes, or does he have a running game? Does he have an offensive line? Does he have does Tua have Andy Reid on the sidelines?
No. Far from it. But I would say he does need to cut down on his picks, though. And I know Ashley wants to follow it up with.
Because where do you see this ending?
When there's chicken shit around you, how are you supposed to make a chicken salad?
I hear you.
And that's my problem. When the guy that calls the plays doesn't know how to call plays. There was like a couple weeks back when Tua had like a game. It was like 2 months ago. He had a good game. They moved him around a whole bunch of times. Next week, stayed right there in the pocket like he normally does. And, oh, yeah, let's have an immobile quarterback and tell the defense where he's going to be on every down. That's really intelligent. These are things that the coach does that buries his own players on a consistent basis. He does not compliment Tua in any way, shape, or form. This is the guy that thought that any guard can play in his system. So he didn't want to spend any money. So we send off Rob Hunt, and then that becomes a huge mistake. You know what I mean? You go look at Sean Payton, and his center and his guards are always stout. Why? Because he wants to make sure that his quarterback never has a crumbling pocket. Because the second your quarterback has a crumbling pocket, it's over.
But Big O, where's the end game with this? Like, I think we're all in agreement that we're not going to make the playoffs. So where do we go with Tua, GM, and head coach? What happens from this point after the season is kaput?
I have no idea, and I don't think you're going anywhere. That's the problem.
What would Big O do, though? What would Big O do?
Folks, what are we going to do? Lie to ourselves?
Yeah.
We're going to do lie to ourselves that things are going to magically get better. It's the same order. So if they're talking about keeping Tua one more year because of the salary, well, that's stupid because you're not going to do right by him. So you're not going to have a good team around him, and he's not the kind of guy that can carry you. He's not an athletic quarterback. These guys that are statues, you've got to block for them. You have to block for Tom Brady. You have to block for Drew Brees. You have to block for Peyton Manning. You have to block for Dan Marino. If you don't block for them, I think I've said it to you guys before on this show. Let's talk about the great memories of all these guys winning games with their legs. Go ahead. Let's talk. That's a short conversation.
Yeah, real short
conversation. And that's the problem that we have. People want Tua to be what he's not. And what you don't understand is you've got to make your team what it's not. Tough in the interior at the line of scrimmage, okay? Because if Tua played in Philadelphia, you wouldn't be touching him. And he'd find all the tight ends, and he'd have the best running back in the business, and he'd have AJ, and he'd have receivers, and he would be killing it because it's like what happened in Alabama. At halftime, Nick Saban goes, I need a passer. And he picked Tua instead of Jalen Hurts. Why? Because Alabama had the line, Alabama had the receivers, Alabama had the running game. You do that, then the Drew Breeses and the Tom Bradys of the world can actually do their work. And I think Tua, well, as I've said it so many times, I would have drafted Tristan Wirfs, okay? That day I would have drafted Tristan Wirfs. I wouldn't have drafted Tua only because of the injury history. But it doesn't stop me from believing that he can play in this league and he can pass. But he's the kind of quarterback that you must build the offense in a running fashion, and it must be an offense that protects and give him bigger targets because he's a smaller quarterback. So he can see because there are passing lanes. He can see. Is he going to see over everybody? No, but he can see in between the passing lanes. And because he's so accurate, because his timing is impeccable, he will be super deadly. But you do not build it the right way, you can forget about it, dude. If you need an athlete, that's not who it is.
So let's switch gears, talk for the Canes. Before I let you go, let me pull this up here.
Yeah, so the Canes now are projected to be in the playoff. I'm not sure how realistic this is. I know the ACC sucks, Big O, but at the end of the day, you're going to try to reward a conference champion instead of the Hurricane team that has had two really bad losses. Carson Bez shit the bed against Louisville, throwing those 4 picks. And then Mario Cristobal, makes a very questionable decision against SMU where instead of going for it and trying to, win that game outright, is satisfied going to overtime. And those are the decisions that end up killing you. So now, here we are now where they're currently in the field. I just don't know if this is sustainable when you have other teams that are going to possibly continue to win.
We're hot.
And we don't really, besides Pittsburgh, have another team on the schedule that we can really pad a win on. And then I want to also ask you about the Notre Dame comparison. I know we did beat Notre Dame. That was a close game in the season opener. Since then, Notre Dame is, pretty much righted their ship, and they play as an independent a much tougher schedule than anybody in the ACC. So what do you see the Canes doing here, and are they going to make the playoffs in your opinion?
That's a good question.
I don't know if they'll make the playoffs because I'm not guaranteeing you a win against Pittsburgh because of Mario Cristobal, because I don't trust him as a coach. It's sad because Mario does everything right except on game day. He has just, I don't know, it's just brain farts that happen with his team, whether they're undisciplined, they make mistakes, he makes terrible calls in certain moments. On the Notre Dame front, I really don't worry about the silly argument whether Notre Dame deserves to be in front of Miami or not at this point. With the 2 losses that Miami had, it's your own fault. You created this mess yourself.
Yeah.
Those were both games that you should have won. You were good enough to run the table, but your coaching staff failed to prepare your teams properly for these games, and so you ended up suffering. We'll see if they get to the playoffs, but I don't expect them to make an impact even if they make the playoffs, because I don't see Mario. Dude, he had a Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback last year, and he couldn't make it to the playoffs, and he couldn't make it to the ACC championship game. And right now he's outside and looking in at the ACC championship game again, and he has more resources. He has the most resources that any Canes coach has ever had, dude. And so, there's no more excuses for Mario Cristobal. He has failed, and he's got to get stuff turned around. So if he's able to sneak into the playoffs, he better start winning, because remember, this is a team that doesn't even win bowl games. So he still can't win a bowl game, and that's bad. So I'm disappointed in Mario. I'm disappointed in the Canes this year. I gave them a break at losing 1 game because I thought, okay, 11-1 this season would be good because you're human. You're going to get tripped up, okay, but 10-2, unfortunately, this is the game we play, and this is the game to coach. And 2 games, unacceptable, especially when you were better than both teams. But the coaches on those teams are better than you are, and that's why.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because he played here, won national championship here as a player with a U, and so you want to have him had the success. But between that play, against SMU a couple of years ago, not taking that knee against Georgia Tech, he's had some tough goes at it here. So.
No, my grandma's a huge Dolphin fan. Lives in Daytona. She said, Achan's a man. He scores. I mean, that's straight up granny talk. She just knows it. We know he is the man. Absolutely, he is. She knows it.
Yeah.
But take care of him, man. Come on.
Yes, don't overuse him. Don't overuse him.
Yeah.
I want Achan here for a second contract. You again, but this is this coach, and it took him so long to get. This is the guy that shunned away Chris that was killing us with Green Bay last year. What's his name?
Chris Brooks.
Brooks. It's like we could use a big back, and he just doesn't get it. And it's amazing. And I love Achan, but I don't want to put him at injury risk. And 20 carries, hate to bring him up again because he's no longer with us, but the late Tony Sparano, I know he's a really nice man. Yeah. But when they brought in Reggie Bush, Reggie had this thing about, I want to prove I'm a running back. And I kept picking that apart. No, you're not a running back, dude. You're a pass catcher. And all of a sudden, Tony Sparano wanted to use him as a running back. And by the end of the year, he was injured. So just like when you needed him most towards the end, if you were going to get in the playoffs or anything that year, he was going to be out. Why? Because you didn't use Reggie Bush the way you're supposed to use Reggie Bush. And that's what it is. Achan is a guy that's going to be phenomenal, but make sure you don't overuse him because you're going to wear him out. He's going to break down. And then once the injuries start mounting, the player's not the same anymore. And you want to keep him explosive and fresh. So please keep developing Ollie. Keep using Ollie for a lot of the dirty stuff. In fact, what you should do is maybe have 2 series with Achan, then a series with Ollie, 2 series with, and a whole series with Ollie, and let Achan rest. and lower those carries and use him more as a pass catcher out in the open field where maybe he also doesn't take hits like he does in the line of scrimmage and in between the tackles and running in between 300-pound massive human beings who would crush any of us.
Well, speaking of injury, that would lead me to the Miami Heat, right? We're still Tyler Hero. We're without Tyler Hero. Bam's slowly starting to make his way, practicing and stuff. Norman Powell, what? He is, who? Fantastic. I mean, he's been explosive so far throughout the season, holding his ground. Of course, we want to see more from guys like a Jaime and, Larson and stuff. But he's doing fantastic. It's great to see tonight. Golden State Warriors are in town without Jimmy Butler.
That gutless turd, Jimmy Butler. He quit. He decided not to play tonight.
But also, no Steph Curry, no Draymond Green. So those tickets that were a hot ticket, definitely plummeted. So go ahead. Yeah.
So, Big O, want to get right to the Heat here. Do the Heat pay Tyler Hero? Because he's due a contract. They're winning without him. I mean, right? Just not pay him.
No, I would never give him the crazy money. He's not that guy. But I will say this: Spo is the guy, dude. That he is the best coach in the planet, and to do what he's doing with this bunch, they'll probably win this game because they've got an edge over the Warriors right now without Steph and without Draymond and without Butler. That's too much to overcome. Probably. So I would expect them. That's the good thing about tonight, at least. The game is not going to be that good because you've got a bunch of backups playing, but just get the win because, down the line, you may need that to try to get into the playoffs. Look, I said this is a team that's got to just aim for the play-in. Well, right now they're in the 7th seed, and that's without Bam constantly in the lineup because he's now been out, and then Tyler hasn't played at all. And you're right, Norman Powell has been absolutely phenomenal. Jaime Jaquez Jr. has really had a really good start to his season. My boy, Pelel Larson.
Your boy, too.
Just an absolute bundle of energy. I love that guy. He's fearless. So what Spo is doing, I mean, Spo's the best coach in town, dude. And I hate to say this now because I know the all football people that really don't follow basketball, they always get bent out of shape now with this. Spo's become the best coach in the history of South Florida sports. He passed you.
I agree with you. 1,000%.
He's been incredible.
You also mentioned Simone Fontecchio. That's one that, that's my guy this season. So just guys from even so international, our team is, and just the way that.
Hello, Larson, as you mentioned. And I'm with you, Big O. He's surpassed everybody. He's taken 3 different inclinations of Heat teams to the finals. Speaking of finals, Stanley Cup finals.
He changes offenses constantly. He's the one. He's the one that created the positionless type of basketball that everybody, started using with Chris Bosh and all that, and back in the day with the big.
Love him.
He's the guy that when LeBron gets here, he puts him to post up. When Bosh gets here, he makes him a 3-point specialist. When we talk about Spo. And I watched all of Shula because I'm old enough, just in case if anybody can't pick up on it. I don't look like I'm 60, but I'm close to it already. I'm 59. So I saw all Shula's run, and I've seen this Spo run, and I've seen Ron Frazier, and I've seen all the great coaches that we've had in town. And to me, Spo is the best of the best. And his last 10 years, I'm more impressed at the 10 years when they did win the titles. The ones that have been without, what he has maximized out of all these teams, what he did with the Scrubberinis to go 31-10, to do what he's doing with these young guys right now.
Amazing.
He is at another level as a coach because he ends up designing a new offense for this team. He looks at them and he says, okay, this is what they've got to run. And his vision, wow, it's equal to his vision when he's anticipating stuff like that. It's impressive, Spo's vision. I can't say enough about what he's doing. He's really the bright light of the Heat organization. I would say
number one scoring offense in the NBA right now. It's amazing. I know we don't have to worry about.
Riley has let him down actually the last 10 years.
Philly leads.
Yeah, got to give him more time, no doubt about that. Listen, the team we don't have to worry about is the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. I know that they're injured right now, but nobody's worried. Nobody wants to play them in the first round as an 8th or 7th seed if it comes to that. So they'll get around. Big shout out to Brad Marchand, who scored his 1,000th point. 104 people in the history have done that. That's a big deal to have Brad Marchand do that. I know you always have George Richards on, so I don't think we have to worry about the champion Cats. George Richards was also on our show, and we're looking forward to this journey of trying to repeat, so that's huge. So we don't have to worry about those Panthers, but I do want to switch gears here, and before we let you go, and again, thank you for joining us, just fresh off of Spain. Guys, if you're watching on X or Twitter, jump on over to YouTube, give the Tonight Show a like, subscribe to the channel, and support everything Big O does. He is truly one of the best in this town to ever do it. But I want to talk about Inter Miami here. Messi, we got the World Cup coming up here. Yes. Messi has been here now 3 years. We got a new stadium opening up next year. They're in the playoffs now against Cincinnati. I saw a couple of tweets that you had that, the MLS has done a horrible job with their TV deal. You got to no one sees these games, by the way. Messi's on the biggest stage. Miami has to win this game, right? I know Messi doesn't need to add to his legacy, but if he came here to win, he's got to win. What's your take on the state of MLS and Inter Miami having to, try to win this championship here?
It's kind of become a novelty for the Argentine community. That's what this team has become. They have no connection to the fan base. Messi doesn't really talk to reporters.
No.
The team doesn't really put out their stars. They don't speak our language.
Right.
So it's really a novelty for Argentine fans to watch their national players or their favorite Argentine club players, because the roster is loaded, because the roster is run by Messi. It's Messi's coach. It's Messi's GM. The inmate, not inmates, the inmate running the
yeah.
All right. Because a lot of people say, the inmates are running this. No. In this case, it's the inmate running.
That's so good. It makes me laugh so much.
Singular. Okay. So this is where we're at, and they have failed to, dude, we have Barkov, and kids are watching him grow up. Like they watch Jason Taylor and Zach, and they watch Dwayne Wade, and they watch Alonzo Mourning here forever. We have none of that. And, they traded Campana, they traded other young guys. And I don't know if they're going to keep Allende or whatever, but he doesn't even speak English. What you needed to do was bring Messi, but you needed to bring a young guy that can speak the language, can sell the game. And so when Messi leaves, the young guy that has been starring with him then takes over and becomes that guy for the next 10, 15 years. And you can sell Inter Miami to people. You know what I mean? So all you're doing right now is you're becoming a team of mercenaries. And you're just going to turn over roster. And, we had the smoking forward a few years back. And now we've got Messi. And so, it's an Argentine too, by the way. It was like 8 or 9 Argentine players at that time also. So there's a thing, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying, if you're going to sell to the American community, well, then you need to connect with them. And there is zero connection with the community whatsoever. And the fact that you've had now games, kind of like what the Heat do, or not the Heat, but what used to happen with Jimmy Butler and all that kind of stuff, like you don't know when somebody's playing or not, or resting, and you spend a lot of money to see Messi, that kind of sucked. And a lot of people have been burned along the way. And notice now, the Messi craze is done, dude.
You're right.
Their games don't sell out anymore, okay? And that's the other thing that you have failed. You don't win. You don't win anything. They haven't won jack shit. Nobody cares about the League's Cup that you won a few years ago because you beat a Mexican league. They don't even know that exists. They don't know that shit. So they want the MLS Cup. Like I said, when somebody, they won the League's Cup. I go, did you see pots and pans? And they said, no. And I go, well, then it's not official in South Florida, bitch. Okay? When the come out, it's official. Okay? It's official. So if you get the MLS Cup, I think you're going to get the pots and pans. But that's the interesting part, Lou. They have to win, because that's their only way to connect with the community, by winning the cup. if you lose again against Cincinnati on the 23rd on the road, okay, and Cincinnati's got a hell of a home field advantage. If you lose that game and you're spending the amount of money that you're spending on that team, this has been an outright failure. And all it is a money grab. Money grab with him playing overseas in different games with Inter. The Messi Cup is now coming up. All this kind of crap that they're doing. And all you're doing is burning out the dude because you're just trying to sell a Messi drink and a Messi lunchbox because you pay so much money that you have to try to make it all back. And that's the sad part, that this whole thing has turned into one giant money grab. But the problem is, if you're going to make it a money grab, dude, you better produce. And they haven't produced anything. And that right there, if people look at it, you do realize that Messi's one of the biggest chokers in the history of South Florida sports.
Yeah. No, he is.
I want you all to know this, okay? He lost against the worst team last year in the playoffs in Atlanta in the first round, okay? The worst team in the playoffs, and they were the number 1 seed. That is as choking as Vinny Testaverde as it gets, okay?
He went there. 9
interceptions in the Fiesta, the Sugar Bowl, and the 2 biggest games of his life. He pissed away the Super Bowl all by himself. I got to add Jimmy Johnson there because his dumb ass kept letting him pass instead of just handing off to Alonzo Highsmith. So I got to put him right up there with some of the major chokers in the history of South Florida sports. I don't care what he did with Barcelona, dude. I don't care what he did with PSG. I don't care what he did with Argentina. Those aren't my teams. I'm a guy. I'm an Inter Miami guy. I'm a Miami FC guy. I'm a Fort Lauderdale United guy, okay? I don't like my local teams. So I support all my local teams, as you can see back there. They're there.
You do.
Represented. That's what I am. I only care about what you've done for me. And so far, you made a lot of money, some entertaining goals, but what have you won for me lately?
Nothing.
Yeah. Agree 100%.
Say nothing. Won nothing.
Yeah. No, perfect. All right, well, Big O, thank you so much for joining us. I know you had an amazing time in Spain. Thanks for sharing your adventure with us, and thank you for all you do. For anybody who doesn't know, and I don't know who wouldn't know at this point, tell everybody where they could find you and how they can come along to your journey, everything that you talk about every day regarding South Florida sports.
We're live every day on YouTube, the Big O Radio Show. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you know when we go live. Tomorrow we'll go live at noon from Hialeah Park. Appreciate that. You can also follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Big O Show. That's another way to keep up with everything going on in the program. Thanks to all of you out there. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. All right. Well, you have a great night, and we will have to do this again
soon. Enjoy the bye week.
Yeah, enjoy the bye week, and we'll have to do this again soon.
So thanks for tuning.
I'm always here for you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Big O. Have a good night. I wanted to mention before we get off the air here, I know Russ is in the room, Miami Mike's in the room by now. Guys, again, if you're watching on X and Twitter, just like you heard Big O, come on over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like tonight's episode, and follow Big O. And yes, if you guys are in our contest, we did not post a question this week because the Dolphins are on a bye week. So you'll have to tune in next week because we will have a question out. I do want to highlight, though, 3 people individual because we get 25 people that took part in our contest last week who answered our question, and only 3 people got it correct. Eduardo, Robert Purvis, and Richie Rich. So congrats to you 3. You're the only guys that swept the board and got all 3 questions correct. One of the questions was
the field goal one. Yeah, that's what
the field goal. Yeah. The question that we asked was, would it be over or under 46.5? And Riley Patterson made it a 46-yarder. So he was right on the line there, and that obviously hurt some people. But again, 3 people out of 25 got all 3. That was a big deal. And we will be back with our show question next week. So tune in then. Till then, you guys have a great rest of the week.
Well, Miami Mike says, so we can't lose. No, we
cannot lose this week.
Next week. Will the show be Tuesday? I don't know. It's Thanksgiving week. We're leaving town. So he says a show. I don't know when it's going to happen. But
no, we're doing it. I do want to take you, we always do this every week, so I don't want to miss it now. Look around the league. You got the Bills and the Texans going at it tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Steelers and the Bears is a big game at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Colts and the Chiefs. That's a big game for the Chiefs right now. They're trying to stop the bleeding. They're not in playoffs right now.
I know, it's
So
crazy.
Colts and Chiefs will be a big one. Colts coming off a bye. The Eagles and the Cowboys. Russ is in the room. Two teams that hate each other immensely. Eagles and Cowboys facing off a 425.
Do you know where that game's at?
From Dallas.
It is in
That's
Dallas?
right. And then Sunday Night Football, Buccaneers and Rams. And Monday Night Football, Panthers and 49ers. So some good games this week. We get to enjoy them because the Dolphins are not playing. So hope you guys enjoy the game and enjoy the games this weekend. And we will be back telling you about it all next week at some point.
Okay, so guys, quick plug in. We've had a good number of Johnnies come join us on the show. We've had one last week from LA. Guys, tomorrow I am hosting a St. John's alumni social for those alumni who live in South Florida. You guys are all welcome to go to it if you are an alum at Duffy's in Plantation starting at 7 p.m. So those Johnnies who live in South Florida, head to Duffy's in Plantation tomorrow starting at 7 p.m. for an alumni social.
Nice. And Russ on the way out says that the Eagles are wearing their Kelly Greens, which I love those uniforms, by the way. Reminds me of the old Buddy Ryan.
No, I love their old
Reggie
old
White, Jerome Brown from the U.
No, their old school jerseys, their throwbacks are amazing.
They're great.
They really are.
We'll be on the lookout for that. That'll be, I'm sure that's going to be the marquee game down here in South Florida. So we will be tuning into that one for sure.
We're chilling on Sunday watching football, so we're
Yep.
good.
All right, guys. Well, again, have a great rest of your week and weekend ahead, and we will catch you next week. Until then, fins up. Oh, Robert's in the house.
You got a lot
Robert,
of people.
We'll see you guys. Hit that like button on the way out and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Have a good one, guys.
Yes.